Zach, man, glad you're here.
Good to be here.
You are new to this life, this real estate investor life, and
Mhm.
you're a young, talented, educated guy. You could do anything in the world, and you have chosen real estate investing.
I don't know
Tell
about all
me,
that, but
tell me how you came to that decision.
oh, that's a yeah, that's a story. I don't know. It was a one, I think it was a little bit of the upbringing
Uh-huh.
and my parents definitely influenced that desire in me.
Yeah. So they had
Um
a real estate background. They
yeah,
knew they knew
no,
you could there was a path to success here.
yes.
Yeah.
And my dad's done a couple of
Uh-huh.
projects and always, taught us our financial literacy
Hmm.
in a way. And I was just kind of drawn
Hmm.
to the ins and the outs and the and
Yeah.
how it works and the
Yeah.
numbers
Yeah.
and so that seed was kind of planted at
Uh-huh.
a younger age.
Yeah.
And then for a while, I went overseas to Australia, working with a nonprofit,
Uh-huh.
and I kind of had this, you know, part of me wanted to go down that route
Yeah.
and do missions and charity
Uh-huh.
and make that my full-time career. But then part of me was very interested in this business and real estate.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, so that was kind of I did that for a while, and then yeah, I mean it is a whole longer story, but ended up getting married. I met my
Uh-huh.
wife down in Australia.
Uh-huh.
She's Canadian,
Uh-huh.
and then we ended up moving back here and starting this adventure. So I knew I wanted to do um, something in real estate,
Hmm.
and definitely more towards the flipping
Mm-hmm.
and fixing, renovating the construction side of it. I didn't want to be a realtor. I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be the investor,
Hmm.
and yeah. So then this opportunity honestly just kind of fell in my lap,
Hmm.
which was which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to second guess it or look or hunt. And it
Mm-hmm.
was through a connection of my
Mm-hmm.
dad's
Yeah.
with Mark Pate.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, this is it,
You knew right away. Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And that's honestly kind of my story with how I ended up down in Australia.
Yeah.
I was with a ministry called
Huh.
Youth with a Mission,
Uh-huh.
and they're global. They have thousands of locations and
Mm-hmm.
bases and different operations. And somehow where I ended up just kind of fell in my lap.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so yeah.
Hmm. Wow. Well, that's awesome. When you think about like you got a bright future ahead of you, when you think about the future, what's important what's important to you in terms of what you want to I get I don't think I get the impression you it's not just about working with you. You have a purpose beyond that. Like what do you
Yeah,
what do you what do you want out of this career?
that's a good question. Yeah, that's, you know, for me, it is, you're right. You
Mm-hmm.
hit the nail on the head. There is definitely a higher purpose for
Mm-hmm.
me. And I have a big faith in Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's definitely a huge motivating factor. But I see this as a platform,
Mm-hmm.
a vessel to help people. And
Mm-hmm.
I've already got to experience that
Mm-hmm.
very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I've only been doing this for since April.
Mm-hmm.
We've done, one house and we have another one going right now, but
Right.
already the people I get to meet, there's opportunities left and right.
Yeah.
So that's huge for me.
Yeah.
And obviously providing for my family.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely, getting married was a huge little bit fire under my
Mm-hmm.
butt
Yeah.
of growing up and that. So that's an aspect, but Yeah, I think the bigger one for me is, helping people, serving
Yeah.
my community and trying to follow God
Yeah.
and what he's kind of leading us into.
Yeah. What are you spending your time on now? Like you're at the beginning of this journey, you're getting it started, you're learning construction, you're learning the acquisition side. Like what's a day in the
That's
life with Zach like?
that is what I am doing, learning,
Uh-huh.
basically. The day in the life right now, so when we made this decision,
Uh-huh.
it was all in. I'm going all in on
Yeah.
this thing. So I'm spending 100% of my time in this. We still do other, we're pretty involved in our church, and we
Uh-huh.
have other, my wife still teaches
Okay.
with this ministry,
Mm-hmm.
Youth with a Mission. So I'm still involved with that, but this is kind of my baby right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm spending all my time doing. So that looks like every day's different. That's why I love it. That's one
Yeah.
thing I love. Basically wake up, I'll do a workout, and then boom, get into the office, get on the computer, open up Master Suite,
Uh-huh.
look to see what's going on, respond to emails, and then I'm out walking houses, I'm calling my contractor, I'm just, yeah, trying to push these projects along.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's a lot of, yeah. Recently, the big one for me was the accounting.
Right.
So I've never, I didn't go to university,
Yeah.
and I'm like, shoot, I'm kicking myself that, business 101. Where is that? I need that knowledge, but I'm getting it right now.
Yeah.
I'm getting my
Figuring it out.
MBA
Yeah.
live action.
It's easier to learn when you have a reason to learn,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah, there's a
And
motive.
it puts a motivating
Yeah, it
factor.
definitely
I'm
is
like, oh, these
motivating.
are due tomorrow. Okay, I just got my
Yeah.
last W-9 in
Uh-huh.
this morning.
There you
Sent it over
go.
to my
Right
bookkeeper.
in time.
Right in time.
Early, actually. 48 hours early.
Exactly. So that as of lately, the accounting has been a big one,
Yeah.
a big hurdle to.
Yeah.
to
This job, like this career, it's like really low overhead and it's a one like it's a one person business that you build a team, but that one person, it's like not like you do the same thing every day.
mm,
It's like you
mm,
do have to wear a lot of different hats.
uh-huh.
So there's the acquisitions, there's the leading the construction and making the design decisions, and then also the accounting,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so it is one of those. It's a unique thing where you just do a lot of different things.
Yeah. I think that's one thing I do really enjoy.
Yeah, every day not being the same.
Yeah, so like, and I'm definitely still trying to figure out my rhythms and
Mm-hmm.
routines and how to wear these hats and maybe what day to wear them,
Yeah. Yeah.
or what time block.
Mm-hmm.
Put on that marketing hat
Yeah.
and focus on that, and then yeah,
Yeah, because like construction, for example, can draw you in. Like once you get a
yes,
lot of projects going, like you could let yourself get really into the weeds of construction. So
yeah,
you do have to like structure your time so all the things get some attention. But it it affords it affords a lot of time. Like you can do this and still have a life.
mm-hmm,
That's pretty cool. So what do you want
mm-hmm.
to do? Like you get things going. What do you want to do with your time? Like what do you dream about? You and your wife
Hmm.
want to do with the time when you have the success?
Yeah, that's a good question. For a long time, I was very paralyzed with the fact of like, what is my career going to be?
Mm.
It was always that, for me, it started as a gap year when I went down
Mm-hmm.
to Australia, New Zealand, and then it's what's next?
Mm.
And am I going to go to university? What's next? What's that big thing?
Hmm.
And it kind of crippled me in the
Hmm.
way of always trying to figure that out and kind of not
Huh.
being in the moment
Huh.
until eventually I'm like, all right, I've been in Australia for 6 years. Like, you know, this is no longer a gap year. This is what I'm doing. This
Yeah.
is this is my career right now.
Huh.
And I kind of just figured out that I'll never have one career.
Hmm.
It will be evolving.
Hmm.
And that actually brought me a lot of peace and lifted that kind
Yeah.
of burden. I
Yeah.
either put on myself
Yeah.
or a burden of society, maybe, trying to, yeah.
Yeah.
Your original question
Yeah.
is, what do I see myself doing long term?
Yeah. No, that's interesting because you do feel the pressure. Like people always lead with what do you do?
Yeah.
Right.
Or
And
what do you want to do?
if you don't have an answer that you feel like is acceptable, like a
Yeah.
real job,
Yeah.
it does put
And
some pressure on.
yeah, and it's like, well, I don't know. And then that's the truthful
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay, but
Yeah. People ask me what I do, and I'm like, you don't have time. This is
yeah, what
this
don't
is
I
such
do?
a difficult question.
Yeah. So for now, I'm like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so when I first started this, when I made that decision, we were thinking, oh, let's do this,
Uh-huh.
and until we can kind of get some financial freedom. But even in the short time, I'm like, you know what, that could evolve, and maybe I actually do want to build this business bigger than I thought I did
Mm.
at the beginning. And maybe it will take
Mm-hmm.
me in different avenues that I never thought
Mm.
I would be going down.
Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of exciting for me.
Mm.
I'm just along for the journey.
Yeah. Well, it's a cool part of life where you don't know. You
Yeah.
don't know the answer to that question.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like somebody like that answer has been made for you,
Yeah.
and you're doing something, you're getting good at something that wherever it takes you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot
Enjoy that.
yeah, for sure. I'm enjoying it right now. A lot of times we want to control,
Yeah.
situations, but
Yeah.
finding that balance
Yeah.
of controlling
Is your
them.
wife enjoying it?
She is.
Yeah.
And even that's a big learning curve, trying to figure out how involved and
Boundaries.
yeah, and just our, what she's passionate about.
Yeah.
And then what, roles and responsibilities, kind of how much to take on.
Yeah.
So she's
Yeah.
excited about this journey for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how different couples navigate that. Because it's always unique.
Yeah. I love listening to the podcast and hearing everyone's story and kind of observing that,
Yeah, yeah.
how involved, what sort of things they're doing. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm excited for this weekend for
Yeah,
that purpose.
yeah. Cool deal, man. Well, let's get into this first house.
Sure,
So
let's
you
do
got
it.
your first one under your belt.
Yeah.
It is a small one. It's like 1,000 square feet, a little bit less than 1,000
Yep.
square feet.
Shy of 1,000, three
Yeah.
bedroom, 2 bath.
Yeah. And so you get into this house, you see this house. Are you able to see what can be as opposed to what is?
Yes, because it was not the first house I walked.
Okay.
So I checked out a handful of houses.
Okay.
And so that's the more I walked, the more I kind of learned and how to piece it together. So by the time this one came, it was quick. It was the combination of the numbers working and then walking it and having the chance to put an offer on it and seeing what it could be. And it was like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take me back to the feeling of getting that first one under contract.
Oh,
Anxiety, joy.
true. My
like-
initial reaction when you just asked me that was pure joy, but you're right. There is some anxiety.
Uh-huh.
There's some nerves, some fear,
Yeah.
big decisions,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, it's go time. Now I have to steward a several $100,000 project.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal, but I was
Yeah.
mainly excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very excited, especially because I was on the hunt
Yeah.
for a while,
Mm-hmm.
for a bit of time, walked some houses,
Yeah.
and so I was waiting for that first one.
Yeah. Well, take me through the process. So you obviously you'd gotten some practice on this. You'd gone through the processes quite a few times before you found this one. And so
Mm-hmm.
you understood the analysis. You knew how the numbers worked. The
Mm-hmm.
numbers work. So now you get this house under contract. What happens? What happens day one?
So mine was a little bit, hopefully, I don't have this again
Mm-hmm.
on future projects because my relationship with my contractor, I was now my team, my
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem.
Yep.
So that was still kind of a pending thing. I
Mm.
was been talking with people, trying to figure that out and come to, finding that partner and working out
Mm-hmm.
that thing. I got the house before I had that all
Yeah.
ironed out.
Mm.
So, which that in general was an interesting journey too, because I felt that people weren't taking me as serious until I had that
Yeah.
house.
Especially with your age, right?
Yeah.
You needed a house to give yourself.
So
Yeah.
the funny thing is, this house, we got it, um, got under contract, closed on it, and I didn't have the contractor lined up, so I started looking around for subcontractors. And I knew the first thing we were going to be doing was exterior
Mm.
stuff. I had a referral from a buddy for a roofing and siding
Mm-hmm.
company, great guy, and I ended up just starting the project.
Mm.
And then that got attention from the
Mm.
contractors of like, oh, he actually bought a house and he's moving on without me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was good. Um,
Mm.
so then that's when my contractor stepped in. Once I got the roof done and the
Okay.
siding, we replaced the siding on the front of the house to give it a bit of a facelift. It did not
Yeah.
have great curb appeal.
Yeah. That's what you were saying. Like this house had good bones, but the curb appeal was lacking. And that's where you saw an opportunity to add value.
Yeah. Yeah, just make it more presentable
Yeah.
and the floor plan, nothing wrong with the floor plan, but the design of the house was quite basic and we wanted to add some more character.
Mm-hmm.
And so just a little bit like we changed the vinyl siding, the front of the house to vinyl board and batten.
Okay.
And we put some sconce lights on the front of the house.
Uh,
And then we put a whole garden bed in the front just to add. Yeah, it did. When you pulled up, it just was kind of like, is this house like positioned wrong? It didn't have a
mm. Mm-hmm.
inviting curb appeal, so we wanted to address that.
Yeah. And this is in a great location, by the way. Like you're in the Outer Banks,
Yep.
North Carolina. It's actually on the island. You called it a sub island of a
Yes.
island. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So great location.
Great location.
But the curb appeal's lacking. You see opportunity there. You do the siding. I think
Mm-hmm.
you put a blue. Looks like you put a blue. Did you make all the style decisions yourself? Did you get any help with that or?
My wife, May.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
She did it. Yeah,
Yeah.
she took the reins on the design
Okay.
and yeah. So
N-
she chose the board and batten
Yeah. It looks
siding.
great.
Yeah. So she did that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she did all the staging, which that was the cherry on top
Mm-hmm.
when we got there.
Yeah.
That made me really appreciate the
Yeah.
power. I didn't realize how much,
Yeah. Yeah.
how important that is.
Yeah. It makes it look like a home.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to
Yeah.
envision the home from the house.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I think it will be. That's where I'm really excited about our different strengths.
Mm-hmm.
When I see a house, I'm thinking a lot more. My brain naturally goes towards the design of the structure,
Like the practical,
the
functional.
blueprint, the
Yeah.
functional, like even the way, how it was built, the floor plan.
Yeah.
And her mind goes more towards that, the color palette, the interior
Mm-hmm.
design, how to make it feel warm, welcoming,
Mm-hmm.
different, yeah, that sort of,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. And both of those things are important. The hard part is not stepping on one another's toes because it's a
true.
lot of times
You're like,
there's
no,
those two things are in tension, right?
yeah, money goes here. No, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it sounds like you guys are you've worked through that pretty well because your end product looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you were really good on, I think some people make the mistake of going in and just tearing everything out and making everything new. The problem is when you do that, it can make it too expensive
Mm,
for the person you want to sell it to. Like they just can't afford
hmm.
new everything. And so it looks like you made really good decisions in terms of keeping a lot of stuff that was in good condition.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I have to give all credit to New Again for that,
Yeah.
and teaching me um that that trick, and,
Mm-hmm.
and just the reality of don't go too far on this. Keep what's
Mm-hmm.
good. Why replace it? You're going to pay twice for it. You just threw away something
Yeah.
perfectly good.
Yeah.
And learning how to work with what you have, and that's why I really value that interior design.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's eye who can, yeah, let's take that granite and how do we complement it with
Mm-hmm.
the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rest of the house, you left the floor plan. You just really upgrade. I mean, you just refinished a lot in this
Yeah.
house, right? Just
So
made it,
this house, this is why I was so excited about it, because I was like, this is a perfect house for my first ever flip.
yeah, not too
It was a
complicated.
perfect size, and it was a house that was just neglected,
Mm,
general care.
yeah.
So it needed a little bit of everything.
Yep.
It needed a little bit of everything, like, but nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
So, we had the master bathroom
Mm-hmm.
had some mushy, moldy
Mm-hmm.
subfloor.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a bigger thing, but not huge. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
all right, we got to rip everything out and redo it.
Yeah.
So we addressed that.
Yeah.
The HVAC just needed maintenance, but the
Mm-hmm.
bones were good. The
Mm-hmm.
foundation was good. Um, there was a funky jacuzzi in the bathroom
Yeah, right. That
that were like, hey, you like a jacuzzi? We're like, to each their own, but we got rid of that. And so we had to patch up a wall and put
uh-huh.
some drywall in and get the framers and do that.
Yeah.
So that was, we got to like kind of do a little bit of everything, but it
Yeah.
wasn't overwhelming, or like it's a big project.
Yeah. I think you were really smart with your choices on that. And you really focused a lot of the energy and resources on the outside, on the curb appeal, but also on the backyard.
Yes. Yeah,
And
we added a
so
fence.
it turned out to be it's a nice yard, but you wouldn't be able to tell it was a nice yard when you bought it because you had trees and a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what you did there.
So the backyard and the outside, that is where we kind of tipped over our budget.
Mm,
What I had originally allocated, I learned, okay, well, the landscaping costs a little bit more than I thought.
mm-hmm.
But that's all right. We still did well at the end. And yeah, we just thought it needed to match how nice the inside
Mm-hmm.
was. And so, yeah, we ended up doing more than we had planned at the very beginning of the project. We added a fence,
Mm-hmm.
put some pavers in, made a walkway. There was an old shed that was like borderline. Do we tear this down
Mm-hmm.
and buy a new one, or do we try to
Mm-hmm.
fix it? We ended up fixing it. painted it, got a new roof on it,
Hmm.
and that was good. We needed that
Mm-hmm.
because the house is small and there's not a
Yeah.
lot of storage.
Right.
So that adds a little bit of extra auxiliary, square footage to
Mm-hmm.
the house.
Yeah.
And we took down two big old pine trees. One of them
Yeah.
was like smack dab right up against the house. All the branches were like over the house.
Mm-hmm.
And right when I walked up and saw the house the first time, I'm like, yep, that thing's got to
You
go.
knew that right away.
Oh, yeah, there was
Yeah.
raccoons up in
Yeah.
there. Luckily, no raccoons were injured in the
Uh-huh.
process. But, all those leaves falling on the roof. That's why we had to get a
Yeah.
new roof.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that really increased the curb appeal.
Yeah.
Open
Yeah.
it up.
It's pretty dramatic
Yeah.
change there in the backyard. Did you refinished deck, I think?
Yep. We
Yep.
refinished the back deck,
Mm-hmm.
resurfaced
Yeah.
the front landing pad and the back deck. So
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Well, man, it turned out great. Like a really successful project. You did
thank
pretty
you.
well on this one, right?
Thank you. Yeah. I am not going to set this as the expectation,
Mm-hmm.
because I would say overall it went very smooth.
Uh-huh.
Even the fact that, I didn't have everything lined up at the very beginning of the project,
Yeah.
and it went very smooth. We did really good on it. We sold it for above what we were projected,
Uh-huh.
and that was a very, that's encouraging. I'm
Yeah.
like, what is it
Well,
called where they, like when you test the theory or
validation.
yeah, like validation theory
Yeah.
and you hear about it and you're hearing testimonies
Yeah.
of it
It's a theory. Yeah.
and then right when you do it, something clicks and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this works. This
Yeah.
is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And you've
that,
made something that someone else values
yes.
and it's tangible,
Yeah.
which is not the case in a lot of careers. You
Mm-hmm.
never can touch and
Mm-hmm.
feel and really see what you've built.
Mm-hmm. And that is super special.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And then the thought of, family gonna raise their kids in there. Like
Yeah.
that's somebody's home
Mm-hmm.
that I built. So it's,
Yeah, even the story with the buyer was, cool in the way that he was looking for a house for a while in this price range. And we were going back and forth of if we should tip it up into the next price bucket. And I'm like, no, let's keep it down. And it worked out perfectly.
yeah.
Within 3 days, we had an offer.
So you strategically you were aiming for a certain price point. Obviously, that's important,
Mm-hmm.
and you had the discipline to like make decisions to keep it there.
Mm-hmm.
And this buyer probably could not have afforded that house if
we
you
put it up.
had not been disciplined,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, it's a 950 square foot house. It's a starter. It's a starter home.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to keep the price accessible to people who are
For
buying
sure.
starter homes. Yeah.
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 And that was a big learning thing too of if I am going to do this for the long haul and not just I'm not here just to flip one. It's important that the people who are buying my houses are excited about it
Mm,
and they feel like they got a good house for a good deal.
mm, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I love that. That's the vision of what you guys bring
Yeah.
and the people that
Mm,
I get to surround myself with
Yeah.
being with New Again
yeah.
is they're all about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes there can be that negative connotation of like,
Mhm.
oh, you just
Yeah.
slap some paint.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of that. A lot of that misunderstanding out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that do that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. What was the most rewarding thing about this project?
the most rewarding thing, well, it was very rewarding of how smooth it went
Mm-hmm.
selling it. That was a celebration day.
Yeah.
That was super fun. Honestly, all of it was like getting it under contract, celebration. We
Uh-huh.
celebrated.
Uh-huh.
Closing on it, we celebrated. Starting construction, we celebrated the whole way through this thing because it was our first one, and it was, and getting it up, then selling it. We celebrated the whole way through.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah, for just how smooth it went, and the big thing was it was fun to meet the neighbors,
Uh-huh.
and they really were pleased. They were very happy. They loved me there. They were very pleased. One of the neighbors, at the end of the project, I was like, "Hey, we're done. We found a buyer."
Uh-huh.
Kind of said my goodbyes and just thanked them for their time. And he
Yeah.
pulled me aside. He's like, "Oh, I really appreciate what you've done. You've helped this neighborhood. You've motivated me to look after my house more." And he was very
Oh,
thankful that for
wow.
what we were doing,
Yeah.
increasing the value of his house
Uh-huh.
and just being a good neighbor. And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." That
Yeah.
really, yeah, encouraged me.
Yeah. Well, man, you did like you made a home for somebody to raise a family in, improved a neighborhood, and it sounds like you had a lot of celebrations along the way. So
Yeah, a lot of celebrations.
don't stop celebrating those wins,
Oh
man.
yeah.
I'm telling you, like you start doing a bunch of these and you start just skipping the celebrations, like it just becomes one closing after another. And if I was given advice, I was like, man, celebrate every one of those wins. Cause
Okay. I like that
yeah,
advice. I can take
yeah,
that
take the
advice
time.
because I'm good at celebrating.
take take the time to keep celebrating.
Yeah.
But congratulations. I'm really, really happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah.